welcome to episode 3 of Internet Movies, Cinematary's first post-episode 500 series. This episode is titled A Vision of Horror, because we were looking at 2 horror movies about the early internet. This episode might be a little bit shorter than the ones we've done previously in the series, because those were about 5 and 4 movies respectively. This one we're just talking about 2, so it's gonna feel brisk. I also don't have that much internet history for you today because Japan was actually got into the internet game a little bit later than you might expect. There's not that much history to dig up as far as I could find. But the movies we're talking about today are Pulse by Kiyoshi Kurosawa and Perfect Blue. Oh, wait, no, I'm getting those fixed up. We're doing Perfect Blue first by Satoshi Kon, and then we're doing Pulse by Kiyoshi Kurosawa. 2 movies that came out within just a couple of years of each other, and are about this really fascinating moment of the internet, the late 90s, early 2000s, when the internet was a thing. People could access it, but not that many people were on the internet yet, and it was still existing in a really nascent stage. But these 2 filmmakers, I would argue, were kind of able to foresee a lot that the internet would become, kind of emotionally more than anything else. We'll get into them. First, let's talk about the history of the internet. I do not have any trivia questions for you this week because there wasn't anything particularly amusing that came across my radar. But we're starting in 1974 at Japan's National Defense Medical College in Tokyo. This becomes the first institution outside the United States to oh wait, did I even introduce you guys? Did you do?
No, we're just listening to me.
Yeah,
We're just doing some internet, yeah.
I didn't want
Sure,
to
we
say
didn't know
anything.
your trivia questions at all.
I thought you were doing like a really elongated intro, and then we're gonna be like, and then we're gonna talk with. I think it's really good.
My name is Andrew Swafford, and I'm here with
Zach Dennis,
Grace Winburn.
Michael O'Malley.
We're off to a great start, everyone.
I really thought you had a really like strong intro, and we're gonna bring us in.
I'm just going.
All right. Okay. All right. Sorry.
You guys have anything you want to say before we jump into internet history things?
I think Japan had the right idea of delaying the internet for a while based on these films.
That's true. That's true.
I like that Kiyoshi Kurosawa still on top of the game on the internet and the technological world. If people who are listening to this have seen Cure, he's still got.
I'm thinking of Cloud.
Cure too, but also Cloud.
Yeah.
Cure has nothing to do with the internet, but it's incredible.
It's an awesome movie. Yeah.
Cloud came up.
Cloud just played theatrically a handful of weeks ago at the time of us reporting. And that is very much an internet movie. We thought about including it on another episode, but we felt like that might be a little bit too much Kiyoshi Kurosawa for one series, or not enough, depending on your perspective. But
that's true.
Grace, do you have anything?
These are all chilling. When you said internet horror, you weren't kidding. These scared me so bad. And I'm such a chicken, so thanks a lot. Has done permanent psychic damage and has changed the way that I interact with my phone and internet. So
and your mirror self that exists online. Yeah. I'm glad you mentioned that, because that reminded me of another thing that I wanted to say, which is that I feel like the movies we've talked about in the series so far have generally had a pretty rosy view.
Very positive. And excited for the possibility of what the internet could be or what the internet is to them.
Yeah.
or ambivalent. I was thinking about with Sandra Bullock's The Net, like the internet is, it's just however the person wields it, that it's just the sort of moldable entity that can be, used to further any sort of like grand design, good or bad. But these are the most negative and most critical and scariest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'll let
Cool.
you.
Yeah. Let's get in history things. Once again, we're starting in 1974 at Japan's National Defense Medical College in Tokyo. This becomes the first or one of the first institutions outside of the U.S. to connect to the ARPANET, which people who listened to the first episode of this series remember is what the internet was when it was run by the United States Department of Defense. Jumping ahead 10 years in 1984, we have a researcher named Jun Murai, who's I think known as kind of like the father of the internet in Japan. He uses a telephone line to connect the Tokyo Institute of Technology, the Keio University, and Tokyo University. This network was called JUNET, and it became the basis for the internet in Japan. Same year, a little bit later in 1984, there is a law passed in Japan, the Telecommunications Business Act, which legalizes and regulates the sale of modems for personal use. But it doesn't quite catch on. People did not have a lot of personal computers in Japan at this point. And even looking almost a decade further, by 1993, only 11% of Japanese homes contain personal computers at that point. So not a lot of people trying to connect to the internet. There actually, I did a little bit of digging trying to figure out why that was. And one argument is that the Japanese language is so complicated. There are like 2,000 different characters that gets used. Some people think that it was difficult. It was just as difficult to type on a cell phone as it was to type on a keyboard. Like it didn't save you any time using a keyboard. But there's also at this time there was a lot of people had like personal like writing devices, like little digital typewriters. So I'm not totally sure why personal computers didn't catch on, but anyways, 1995, there's this natural disaster, the Great Hanshin Awaji earthquake hits Japan. It kills roughly 6,000 people, and Japan uses the internet to communicate with support overseas, and this is like a thing that gets news attention. And this is how most of the Japanese public learn about the internet for the first time. A couple years later, in 1998, there's this Japanese psychiatrist, Tamaki Saito, who publishes a book. It's not directly about the internet, but it's definitely relevant to what we're going to be talking about a little bit today. His book is called Social Hikikomori, Adolescence Without End. And the book popularized the idea of hikikomori. This is a term for usually male adults who are extremely socially isolated, spending all of their time indoors and alone. And this is a concept that was, first coined in the 90s, but it's definitely a continuing social phenomenon in Japan today.
It's a good thing that stayed localized to Japan. It doesn't have repercussions elsewhere as well.
Yeah, it's a good thing America has nothing like
Yeah, America would never.
But a lot of people have linked this idea to Japan's relatively high suicide rate, which actually peaked in 2003 and has been steadily declining since. And Japan's increasingly low birth rate, which is at the moment only a quarter of what it was in 1949. So a lot of social isolation in Japan in the early 2000s and still today for sure. 1999 was the year that the Japanese public really starts using the internet en masse. This kind of like monopolistic phone company, the Nippon Telegraph and Telephone Company, NTT. They start selling something called iMode. It's a cell phone with a small black and white screen that actually granted users access to broadband internet, but they did not advertise it as the internet. But it did allow users to send emails, as well as use GPS and banking tools online. They could actually do online shopping as well, and what they bought would actually just get added to their phone bill at the end of the month. Thought that was interesting. It also came pre-installed with an alphabet of emoji, 176 emoji. It wasn't quite the first emoji alphabet. SoftBank had an emoji alphabet on their cell phones just 2 years earlier. But this is like kind of this moment is when emoji become a thing, and really didn't catch on in America until, I don't know, like the 2010s, maybe. But one of the reasons why the NTT starts selling the iMode internet cell phone is actually they were trying to reduce the amount of time people were spending talking on the phone, as their servers were getting too overloaded with too many phone calls. So they wanted like a different server that was using the internet to kind of like offset people's usage. And these phones instantly become very popular, especially with young people. They get known as keitai, which translates to portable, or something that's easily carried. And there's a lot of keitai competitors that emerge after this, competing with NTT. And in just a few years, about 80% of people in Japan own a keitai device. 1 year later, 2000, SoftBank starts selling the Shamail J phone. That is the world's first camera phone. And then later that same year, 2000, the Japanese government, seeing themselves as being behind in the global internet market at the time, which they definitely were, they announce their what they call an e-Japan strategy, which promised to, quote, make Japan the world's most advanced IT nation within 5 years by building an ultra high-speed internet network and providing constant internet access at the earliest date possible. I actually am not sure if, what metric you might use to decide whether or not it is now the most advanced IT nation. Probably not. But they definitely have become, one of the front runners in like the tech space, and have been, even before this, but it took them a while to catch up with the internet specifically.
Yeah.
Yep. That's all I got for history stuff. I wanted to just kind of get up to the time period of Pulse.
That's good. I know we're about to talk about Pulse, but that's good like background, as not really a spoiler, but in the movie, one of the main characters who you follow is like the most like, I don't know how to use computers and or the internet probably ever shown in movies.
Yeah. It's like, well, first you click on the web address. Well, hold on.
That's too much. That's so interesting. I always thought of Japan to be like very technologically advanced, and when I think of the internet and like internet culture, I think of Japan. I mean, I worry about that prejudice now that I've got the facts, but
I mean, so much of our tech comes from Japan, like Sony, for example, Nintendo,
Yeah, and just like every, anime I've seen, there's always like teens on cell phones, the idea of like internet cafes or like, places to, get on like a public computer or something like that.
Yeah. I thought it was interesting to think about the internet being accessed primarily through cell phones as opposed to personal computers in the late 90s. Because, they were basically smartphones, right? They didn't have all the same functionality that smartphones do today. But I think that it is psychologically different carrying around the internet with you as opposed to like you sit down and put in the CD-ROM. Yeah.
Japan had some like kind of interesting like sans internet, like ways to distribute information. Like there was like a peripheral for either the NES or SNES that basically hooked up to a satellite system where you could download games. They would like have broadcast games at one point, and a lot of this is like lost media because if you didn't store it on your hard drive, it was just gone after the broadcast. But
In English, what? NES?
like you would put a little thing on top, like into your video game console,
Okay.
and set it to like a TV station, basically like a satellite thing. And at a certain time, they would like beam the game. They would like broadcast the game, and you would have it in like the RAM on your like the temporary memory on your like the SNES, like the game console thing.
You need to play it. It wasn't just
Yeah, you could play it. Although they would sometimes like send like manga and stuff. Like, hold on, I got a Satellaview for the Super Famicom.
Grace is like, hold on, I need to write this down. Hold on.
Really important, Grace. I'm sorry. You've
Green, like this is, I mean, I am also like pretty internet and like, well, not internet inept, but like computer inept. So this series has really, you know, shown me a lot of or has like made me confront a lot of my own ignorance, because, and also how like easy it is to use the internet and how we don't really call it the internet. It's like the socials, like Twitter, Instagram, all that. It's the socials, but like it was the internet where like, you know, chat rooms and activity existed. Or in this movie, maybe doesn't exist, but anyway.
I am curious.
I know where it's a place where ghosts live.
Yeah.
We haven't really talked about this, but like, were any of y'all like engaging with the internet at the time that like this sort of technology at the time, like the turn of the millennium, like that version of the internet?
I don't know exactly what year I was getting on the internet, but it was definitely like, if not late 90s, very early 2000s.
Yeah.
I remember the first website I made an account on was lego.com. Because I was getting the Lego magazine and they're seeing all this stuff about their website, and they had like games and stuff on there. They had like a cool Bionicle game that you could play.
Did y'all got the discs in the mail too? Like because that's in at least Pulse. I remember that. But yeah,
it was an AOL disc.
Yeah, the AOL disc. My parents still have an AOL email account, but
Nice.
my first memory of the internet is trying to look up cheat codes for Madden.
Did you go?
It's like Madden 2000 or something.
The first time I used it, I did use dial-up so that I could search for baseball rosters to see who was on each team.
Hell yeah.
And then print them out.
I remember we had computer class. I think it was like kindergarten or first grade at my school. And then I remember, I think I played like CD-ROM games. We had an Apple computer at home, but like the internet like I didn't use it for anything other than like what they would tell it, like this is how you type on a keyboard and this is how you put a floppy disk in. And then suddenly it was something that we were using to watch Family Guy YouTube videos on. And so like it all just sort of like exploded for me. And in my memory, I don't really like have these very formative experiences where I like learned how to use it. It just sort of kind of felt like, and then you're in, you know, and then you have the computer room in your house where you go to the internet.
Right.
Yeah.
My parents' computer room was in another room from where their phone jack was. So if we wanted to use the internet, they had bought like this 30-foot phone cord that we had to unroll.
Man, that was probably better for us when you couldn't use the phone and the internet at the same time.
Yeah.
Now the kids, they're all on their phones. It's awful.
Yeah. I couldn't look at my Madden codes when my mom was talking to her sisters or whatever on the phone.
So inconvenient.
あなた誰なの？あなた誰なの？
はい、5秒前。4、3、2。
Well, do you guys want to start talking about Perfect Blue?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. I do have quite a bit of some trivia and some facts for you about this. I watched a little peek behind the curtain for listeners. We have watched these movies a month ago. It's been a minute.
And then who knows when the listeners are hearing this?
Yeah.
It may be 2, 3, 4 months ago.
That's true.
Years.
Before recording this episode, but we had initially planned on recording this before going to TIFF, and Zach got sick on the day, so we've now experienced between that then and now. So I kind of refreshed my memory by putting in these Blu-rays and watching some of the bonus features. And one thing that I thought was neat on the Perfect Blue Blu-ray, there's like
Perfect Blu-ray.
the Perfect Bluray. Very neat. There's this video lecture series that Satoshi Kon gives where he's speaking to like a college class or something across like 4 days, and they've compiled it into this 40-minute video.
Oh man.
And he just like has a DVD player playing Perfect Blue, and he's just like playing it and like pausing it and fast forward and talking about stuff. And he has this little like stick. It almost looks like a magic wand or something, but it has like a little rubber like pointer finger on the end of it. And every time somebody says something he thinks is smart, he like lifts it up in the air and goes, "Exactly." Very funny. But anyways, a lot of my facts came from that. But anyways, let's get into it. Perfect Blue. It's Satoshi Kon's directorial debut. It comes out in 1997. And at the time, he had worked on manga a little bit, as well as an animator on Japanese television shows. And this movie was originally not meant to release theatrically. It was meant to have a very small home video release. The term is OVA in the anime world. And so the decision to release it theatrically and submit it to film festivals was a very last-minute decision that a lot of folks who worked on the film were very surprised by.
Did it say like what?
As to why.
Okay, I was gonna ask.
Yeah, I tried to find that, but could not. This story was originally a novel by a guy named Yoshikazu Takeuchi, and it was originally meant to be adapted into a live-action film. Satoshi Kon said he never read the original novel. He did read the screenplay for the live action film and threw everything out, basically. He said that he was given 3 keywords: idol, horror, and fan. And as long as it was about those 3 things, he could do whatever he wanted.
So that's incredible. Like, movie by hashtag.
Exactly. So the original story, there's no internet stuff. There's no weird like boundaries between dreams and reality. Completely different story. But it is still about a Japanese pop idol being stalked by a fan. Satoshi Kon said that he was not particularly interested in that idea because he didn't like the pop idol world, and he also was not super into horror. But he decided that instead of focusing on how insane the stalker was, which he thought that most movies touching on this kind of subject matter would, he decided to focus on, quote, how the inner world of the protagonist, the victim, is broken by being targeted by the stalker. Whenever he was going over, like in this little video lecture, when he goes over the rape scene at the center of the film, he said that he now feels as though he went too far with that scene. And he said that when he saw that projected in a theater, he actually had to look away from it. And I think the initial push to put something like that in there was to make the film kind of stand out as being kind of extreme in some way, compared to, the average OVAs that are on the shelves of video rental places. But
to that point, I watched it on a YouTube cut that was like the most shocking anime you'll ever see.
That's right.
Big Blue. Yeah. So, there.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like a weird.
He says that he's kind of embarrassed by it now.
Well, the text of that scene is the director pushing it too far.
That's true.
Like that's a weird little moment to have. It's like, the scene about director pushing the rape scene too far is me pushing the rape scene too far.
He also said that the studio was trying to get him to get the movie a lower rating. It was what he called R15. So you have to be 15 to get into it. There's also an R18 or R17, I forget. He said that he thought it should have been the higher rating. But the studio actually wanted him to make it rated G. And one of the things that they talked to him about with regards to like things going over the line is like specifically the act of thrusting. Like he said that you could have one or two thrusts in a shot, but once it was three or more thrusts, we're crossing the line.
That happens with the MPAA too. Like, what is it with these guys in the thrusts?
I don't know. But it's honestly a little awkward to watch in the video lecture because he's like pausing it and rewinding it and like showing it over and over. But anyways, Satoshi Kon has stated that his greatest creative influence is actually a musician, the Japanese composer Susumu Hirasawa. Amazing composer. His most famous thing, I think, is the 1997 Berserk score. He would later go on to score stuff for Kon, Millennium Actress, and Paranoia Agent. But as an inspiration for Perfect Blue, Satoshi Kon cited Hirasawa's album Sim City. And he said that album is, quote, like a city that was suddenly created with a high degree of modernity without any evolutionary process. Also, Kon bought a computer with internet access as research for the film. He was not online beforehand. And he even started his own website to display creative work after finishing Perfect Blue. So not learning his own lessons there. But in an interview, he said, I didn't expect that so many people would read it. I had many reactions from these people, which surprised me a great deal. It makes me happy people are interested in my work, but not when they're interested in me. So when I received all these reactions, I didn't know how to keep my distance from them. Maybe that's one of the reasons why I don't write much on my site anymore. Because Kon was unknown at the time of Perfect Blue's release, the distributor actually pitched the film as being made by a disciple of Katsuhiro Otomo, director of Akira. And Otomo is even credited as a planning collaborator on Perfect Blue, but he actually had nothing to do with the production whatsoever. I think that Kon did know him, but he did not work on this movie. The international theatrical flyers for the film originally included quotes from Roger Corman and Irving Kershner. I did some digging trying to find those and could not. I wish I knew what they said. One of the film's most notable fans, though, is Darren Aronofsky, who visually quotes the bathtub scene in his film A Requiem for a Dream, which in the lecture series thing, Satoshi Kon says, Aronofsky called it a homage, but you could call it a ripoff. And apparently Aronofsky was actually at one point in talks to acquire the rights to Perfect Blue to make a live action remake of it. But he ended up deciding against that.
Damn.
And a couple quick critic quotes for you. Dennis Harvey of Variety wrote that the film ultimately disappoints with its just middling tension and underdeveloped scenario, but it still holds attention by trying something different for the genre. And then we have somebody whose name I'm not going to pronounce correctly, Hoai Tran Bui of Slash Film, wrote that the film is, quote, deeply violent, both physically and emotionally. This is a film that will leave you with profound psychological scars and the feeling that you want to take a long, long shower. So,
not the makings of a double feature with another internet horror movie.
With an
Unless you're crazy.
movie, yeah.
Unless you're me, unless you're crazy.
Yeah. So
And
who wants to
short
go first?
time.
Let's talk about Perfect Blue.
This is my first time watching it.
Oh.
Yeah, I'd
Have
seen
you
them.
seen Satoshi Kon's other stuff?
Yeah, I've seen Paprika. We've done an episode on that. I've seen that a couple
Mm.
times. I'd seen Millennium Actress, but I think it's been a minute. I
Yeah.
because I looked on Letterboxd and I was like, I logged that, so that wasn't a good sign. But
There's not very many. There's one other feature, Tokyo Godfathers, and then
Yeah.
there's the show Paranoid Agent.
yeah, but no, this one, I think it took me a while to kind of get into it, to kind of get on the wavelength that it was on. I kind of came in prepared from like Paprika, kind of knowing not only his style, but kind of like how he, like the fluidity of like his characters and scenes. Like, you're constantly kind of like bouncing back and forth between multiple different places. And this one's a little bit more, at least at the beginning, is a little bit more like stable. But I mean, you mentioned it's very visually arresting. It's definitely like it's not a feel good movie. It's a feel bad movie at the end of it. But I don't necessarily feel like that makes it not worth seeking. I'm sure we'll get into it, but it's depictions of like not only just like the pop idol world, but specifically fandom is really prescient. This is 97, you said? Yeah, like this is, and like this feels like nothing compared to like what I'm sure, whether you're Taylor Swift or Sabrina Carpenter, or like a K-pop, like a giant K-pop band in that like whole machine happening. I can't imagine, and so it's kind of crazy that this came out in 1997, because I think you could play it today and it feels very prescient of the moment to like speak to fandom in 2025.
I wonder if you didn't mention this, Andrew, and I haven't looked it up, but I wonder if some of the story, I don't know when the novel came out, but I wonder if the story was inspired by the Bjork stalker, which it was a really famous, 1990s like incident of like a pop star being like stalked and like, attacked by her stalker.
Dang, she was attacked?
Yeah.
He tried to murder her.
Then he
Wow.
ultimately committed suicide.
Yeah, it's pretty gnarly, but like that's like one of the earlier, I mean, I guess there's stuff like the dude who kills John Lennon and things like that, who have like, weird fixations with folks, but like in terms of like a stalker in like the kind of modern sense, like that's the one that I think of as being kind of example.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I know that the Japanese pop idol scene was a thing going back decades, even before Perfect Blue. And one thing that I ran across that I thought about including in the fact sheet was apparently this came out during what people call like the winter of the idols. It was like this period of about 10 years where they thought that maybe like idols were over because the fandom had just kind of like died out. That some of the bigger pop stars had kind of moved on.
It touches on that by, following her transition from, idolship into more serious art, like being an actress. This was also a first watch for me. And I guess it was kind of one that I thought that I'd always get around to. And I'm glad to have seen it for this, but had I known what that was, I probably never would have touched this movie. I have to be honest. It was, I mean, besides being so dynamic and so visually interesting, to blur memory and, to lose time in such a way that I think could really only be captured so interestingly and to be captured so well via animation. Like, I don't think that it would have the same sort of, it wouldn't have the same look to it if it was live action, but I think that the sort of like visual storytelling that they do is just much better suited to 2D animation. Also, given how graphic a lot of it is. It's a kind of nice to have the distance of like these are cartoon characters. It's dulled animation, but these are cartoon characters instead of like these are real people, and everything just becomes that much more real.
Right.
You said something in your introduction, like in your introductory notes, about how this focuses more on, what was it? You said the fracturing of the victim's identity.
Yeah, he said how the inner world of the protagonist, the victim, is broken by being targeted by the stalker.
That was like the overwhelming takeaway of it for me is and I'm also like blanking on our main character's name. So
Mina is her name.
Mina. Watching her shatter and crumble completely while also like maintaining some sort of like sympathy for the stalker, and ultimately we watched this a month ago. So, and what is her stalker's name?
Does he even get a name?
Or not her stalker. So maybe not even him, but
oh, you're talking about
the real Mina.
Yeah.
Isn't that what, like the doppelganger or whatever?
Yeah, like
if her doppelganger turns out to be her assistant, right?
Yeah, her assistant. So it still is extremely sympathetic to all parties involved, that rather than place any sort of like blame or cast any sort of dispersions on these characters, there's like a real sympathetic lens that they're all looked at, and it seems as though like the real villain is the internet. So
Yeah, because it's with she doesn't go to jail, right? She goes to like a mental
institution.
Yeah, like I'm sure there's a degree of security because it might be other people who have like been involved in crimes or violent incidents or whatever. But yeah, it's not like you're entering like a high security prison or something. It's
and I was thinking about that last scene just now when you were talking, Grace, because like it ends with Mina going and visiting her old assistant, and as she's leaving, the nurses are kind of like whispering to themselves, like, "Is that Mina, the actress?" And the last shot of the movie is Mina looking directly at the camera, but through the rearview mirror of her car, and saying, like, "Yep, I'm real." And Satoshi Kon in the video lecture, it talks about how like what you could see as Mina like killing off her true self and taking on this like artificial new self for the film industry. Her journey is actually like one of becoming the most real version of herself. And he said that he decided to, and she has to kill off the old version to become like the new realer version. And the reason he decided to have her look through the mirror when saying this is that like is in some way meant to indicate that like she hadn't become like the fully real version of herself yet, that like she's still on a journey of like self-discovery and self-actualization by the end of the film.
Self-reflection.
Yeah, but that wasn't how I saw it at all. Like I originally saw this as like an extremely bleak, extremely cynical look at how the Japanese entertainment industry just like kind of grinds people up.
Well, and like
or something.
Right before that, when she's leaving, like you said, people recognize her, but then like, don't they like dismiss it? They're like, "Oh, the real Mina couldn't have actually been at a mental institution. Why would a real pop idol do something like this?" And so like, there's like an irony. I don't know, like maybe there's obviously like what the public projects on her, but then I don't know, like so much of the movie is about her not really understanding like her own self or like her own like how she fits into these larger things, and like I don't know, like she only she only deals with the external factors like the stalker and then the murderous assistant and stuff, and I guess that in Cone's eyes that like heals the kind of mental fracturing that happened because of her like public image and her own private self like have now reunited or whatever. But like, I don't know. I guess I don't really. It's hard for me to imagine her just reverting back to, well, now that I killed these external threats, I'm now whole psychologically.
Yeah, I can't imagine Mina being anything other than like very damaged by all this.
Yeah, and I mean, maybe it's. Go ahead, Zach.
That's why I kind of read the like the looking in the mirror scene, like that's also kind of a play on the like the doppelganger trope. And it's like, a lot of times the doppelganger emerges from, something that's a reflection, where the reflection comes out, and like that's the pure fear of the doppelganger.
I mean, we see that many times throughout the movie.
Yeah,
Like, on the subway, and you see the doppelganger in the reflection.
yeah, and so like I almost read it as like like that in that scene as like is she actually, like, there's still that uncertainty whether this person is who she says she is.
I wonder if part of it is the baggage that we bring with like an additional 25 year or 26 years or however long it's been of the internet, and the recognition that the internet is not a self-contained thing that you just move on from. Like, the internet has suffused life. And like, I mean, you're using the term doppelganger. I mean, Naomi Klein wrote that book a couple of years ago called Doppelganger, that is about, in some ways, this very phenomenon of like how the internet creates like parallel realities that people find themselves trapped in, or project versions of themselves into. And I don't know, like, the movie really baits that sort of interpretation, but maybe when you're creating it in the 90s, you don't like have the context to understand like this is what the internet means long term. It just seems like a technology that you can just shrug off.
Grace, did you have something to say?
I have a lot to say, and I think I also kind of struggled with some plot points of the film. But first, I was just going to say that I think that Mina has these two big choices at the end. One of them being like her rescuing her assistant from like being smushed, by the truck. And that seemed like a very selfless and genuine act of like, even though all, putting together that it's been her that has been, pretending to be Mina on the internet, that has endangered her life, that has directly, that has kidnapped her, poisoned her, everything.
I don't think that the assistant was doing the website.
See, and that, okay, so then that brings me to the question of like, I think I might have missed something, or something is a little more opaque or confusing. I thought that the assistant was Mina on this, like, I'm the real Mina, www.realmina.com, whatever.
No, I think the stalker is like a very real other character.
No, right. I know I think the male stalker is obviously a very real other character, but I thought that Mina's assistant was portraying herself as Mina on the internet, making these day-to-day diary entries, and
don't we see the stalker typing them?
I think the stalker is commenting on the website,
he's commenting
right?
to them because he's talking to Amina or to some internet version of Mina, and that internet version of Mina for real or whatever is like, you're the best. You're so great. Thank you for understanding me. My loyal fan. This is like,
well, and also,
what I mean by like some major aspects of this movie were almost like too confusing and too opaque for me, with these like questions of identity and like who is real and what is real, and this sort of like fracturing of like time and day to day. So I thought that Mina's assistant, and I'm sure she has a name, but I'm blanking on it. I'm sure she randomly called Mina.
Rumi, by the way. I'm looking at the Wikipedia page now because I'm trying to find if in the plot summary it. Oh no, you're right. Yeah, on the one covers that Rumi's bedroom is replica of her own, and we're like the one behind Nima's room,
because Rumi is upset that she's moved on to a new image, because she's really attached to the previous image, and so that's the realer version of of Mina for her.
For
Yeah, I was as you were saying this, Grace, like pieces were falling back into place.
Yeah.
My memory of this movie.
It almost seemed like it was kind of also it might have been a bit of a throwaway, but it was like just sort of tossed out there. But Rumi was an idol at one point as well. And so I think that also helps to sort of paint what her psyche is that as a former idol, unable to let it go. Yeah, still involved, but no longer in the spotlight. And then Mina has the staying power as an idol, or at least to Rumi she does, because you hear some of those other fanboys being like, Mina's lame and played, and she is old news. And then there's the loyal stalker that loves Mina. So the two of them and their like folie à deux, their like joint psychoses are very at home together. But what I was saying earlier is that Mina having pieced that all together, that Rumi is this person that has effectively stolen her identity, her digital agency, and claimed Mina to be herself, actively trying to kill her, and has been, killing, leaving bodies left and right. All of that is still in her head, and she still decides to save this person, like that being a very like real choice that Mina makes and acts upon. Whereas everything else that Mina does in her career is she's told what to do. In this scene, this is how you're going to behave. You're going to sing this song at this time. You're going to leave the idolship, and you're going to, move your contract over. And Mina has conversations with her mom all the time about her mom is like, this is all what you wanted, right? And what you wanted to do. And Mina's kind of confused, like, are these the things that I wanted for myself, or are these the things that people want for me? And I think that in that moment, when she saves Rumi's life, that is like the first real choice that Mina has made the entirety of the film.
Yeah, she's a character there. Sorry, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Oh, and then her visiting Rumi in the mental institution, where like the nurses are like, that can't really be her. She wouldn't, like, a person like her wouldn't be here. And it's like, no. And she's like, no, I'm me. I'm real. I made this choice. I want to visit this person. And then from there, it's up to her, or, we can, maybe pretend or sort of, imagine that she feels such and such way. But those are two choices that Mina actively made, under pressure, under intense duress, and still made her own decisions.
I mean, one other plot point you could point to of Mina making a decision for herself is that her team does not want her to do the rape scene. And this is it a film or a television show? I forget.
I think it's a television show.
Yeah, it's part of the TV show she's on. And
she
she
looked
decides
at it
to do it, but it's also like that's a choice where she would not have chosen to do that independently of it being expected of her.
That's what I'm saying, is that it seems to her is that this is what serious actresses do, is that they perform in such a way, they are in explicit sex scenes, and real actresses do the heavy work of simulated rape scenes on screen. And that certainly strips her. I mean, and then there's, of course, the photo shoot that she has to participate in, strips her of all of her agency and her, autonomy as like a female artist. It's what she believes she's supposed to do. It's what's expected of her. And on this male dominated set, for the photo shoot, male dominated set for the TV show, in this weird male dominated J-pop idol fandom, it's men. And then I think that's also where maybe she still has that feeling of friendship, kinship, solidarity with Rumi as a woman who was also chewed up and spit out by this industry.
But that
has survived.
Yeah, I think the photo shoot is what breaks it for Rumi. Like that's when she really kind of goes off.
Yeah.
I think though, and maybe this is part of why I struggle to read the ending as like she's taking control, because like the things that are interesting about this movie, and I think are true in real life as well, that get directly addressed by the ending, is the way that like fan communities and the way that like your public feels a sense of possessiveness and ownership of you that prevents you from having real choice as like a public artist.
Audience.
Yeah, and in a way that replicates the ways that like the kind of capitalist like exploitation like of like a pop system. And like there's all sorts of examples in modern, pop of where like fans are in a lot of ways the ones calling the shots for an artist artistically, or at least like will push back when an artist does something different, or whatever. Like a lot of artists have like a kind of antagonistic relationship with their fans that in some ways mirrors like antagonistic relationships with producers or labels or something like that. And the ending of Perfect Blue has addressed like her relationship with her public, but it has done nothing in response to the kind of systemic exploitative elements that she's also had to deal with in the movie.
Right.
So like, yeah, like Rumi, she has found like a weird sort of like kinship with or whatever, and the stalker is dealt with. But like none of the rest of the industry problems that allowed those interpersonal moments to proliferate and become like, damaging to Mina, they haven't been addressed. And so I guess that's why I still feel like the ending feels a little bit ironic, because if she had never had a stalker, if she had not had a assistant that tried to kill her, she still would not have been her true self, right? Like she loses agency in the rape scene, or she loses agency as like a public figure, regardless of whether she's being actively stalked and killed.
But when we first meet her, she's part of this pop idol group and just, doing group choreography. I feel like Mina is like an interesting cipher of a character where she doesn't really have all that much like distinct personal identity. Like she seems almost oblivious to the way in which she's being manipulated by the industry, because like that's what she thinks that she wants. Like she just wants to kind of like rise in the ranks. And so even though it might not read as a happy ending for us, I think that Mina is genuinely happy at the end of the movie, or at least thinks she is. I don't know.
Yeah, and I mean, maybe I'm just bringing in too much of like what I view as like among like the contemporary like kind of parasocial, celebrity, weird ecosystem.
And I think that we should, like, that's part of the reason why I chose the movie for the episode. And we should probably move on to Pulse, but I wanted to kind of like invite people to say anything else they have about this, particularly as it pertains to the internet. I don't know if we've said all that much about the whole like Mina's room conceit, where she discovers there's a website dedicated to basically being her public diary, but she didn't write it.
Yeah.
And these whoever's writing this, which Rumi, thank you, Grace. I did not know that.
Yeah.
Like just knows all these minute details about her life that is just like horrifying to think about, just being out there. It feels like the kind of a logical next step to like Sandra Bullock in the net. It's not like one person is antagonizing me directly through the internet. It's like somebody is making my life everybody's business on the internet. And
Well, it seems like, it's very much like a precursor to what we have on like Twitter and Instagram, where it's like so-and-so updates.
yeah,
It's where you have, actor updates or celebrity, some sort of celebrity update. And then also with influencer culture, how they do their daily vlogs. Those are all filtered. And then there's if it's influencer daily vlogs, those are filtered, and that's a new kind, or that's a very calculated personality that this influencer is putting forth. different from perhaps maybe the true identity of the influencer. And then the, so and so updates, the Mina updates, or the Sabrina Carpenter updates. Those are people who are tracking every move that Taylor Swift and Chappell Roan all make, and those are also really scary, because it's like anytime that it's like you find out that the singer posted on their Instagram before you even see their post, and so it's I can't imagine like how fracturing that is for Mina to watch that. She even says at one point, she's like, "Oh, I guess I went shopping today." Like, so despondent, so completely removed from her own life, as she's not the person. She's like, "Oh, I guess I did do that." Like her life is being done for her, or happening outside of her, and that was all very frightening, because it's like, how could whoever do this know? Because that Mina doesn't know how to use the internet. Like, she has the instruction book, she doesn't know how to set it up, but Rumi does. Rumi set up the computer for her. She's internet savvy, and that carries on to the fact that she is the Mina's room. But I think also, like, the internet is just kind of, it's kind of just back here. Like, it's kind of just, it's happening over here. It's not so, it is essential, but it's a smaller piece, I think, than like the in real life stalking, and then the violent threats, and the deaths that sort of follow Mina's career progression. But I think that the use of the internet and the use of Mina's room stokes that complicated relationship with her own identity in a way that only the internet could do at that time.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think one of the things that's changed since then, like in this movie, it's presented as an aberration that like there is this extraordinary scrutiny on the internet that is like pretending to be her or whatever. And I think that one of the really messed up things about the internet being just everyday life now is that celebrities, and particularly like pop stars, are expected to kind of perform that, rather than it being like just some sort of weird invasion of privacy. And it's, for a while, I think fans thought that they were like, oh, we're wrestling control of this like pop star to a more authentic space or whatever, whatever. And I think it was always like weird and exploitative, but now it's become this weird kind of like controlled opposition or whatever, where it's like all of this stuff is just curated as part of their portfolio as like a celebrity brand, including like the fandoms, which have just become kind of mouthpieces for a certain type of promotion of the artist. And I think that like the weird fracturing that this movie presents has now just become another part of the system that exploits these artists, because it's just another thing that is rolled up in the entire publicity apparatus, which is depressing. I can't imagine what it's like to be chaperone or whatever.
And the story of like a pop star or like a pop star turned actress is a good fit for this kind of story about the internet, because she's already living so much of her life in the public eye already that anybody could feasibly be running this website. She has paparazzi following her everywhere. It just feels like a natural extension of like the fact that she doesn't really have actual privacy at all already. But that is a thing that I think that non-famous people experience too, and there's certainly like always kind of the fear hovering that like the more you post online about what you're doing, like the more your like actual whereabouts are like public knowledge. Like Grace and I were talking at TIFF, like we're putting these stories out there all day about like I am exactly here in Toronto.
I'm right here.
I am on this.
Yes, here's my name tag, and here's a picture of me, and full name, government name, everything.
Right. And most of the time, 99% of the time, nothing bad happens. But it is just kind of a weird new normal that people are just kind of used to putting personal information out about themselves all the time. To be used in ways that they are not in control of. But anything else about Perfect Blue before we move on to Pulse, people? Okay.
意識、霊魂、何と呼んでもいいんだけど、それを受容できるエリアっていうのは残念ながら無限大ではなかった。インターネットって勝手に向こうから繋がっちゃうもんなの？でもいつか必ずいっぱいになる。そしたら魂は別のエリア、つまりこっちの世界へ進出してくるしか方法がない。どうしてみんないなくなるんだろう。つまり回路は開かれた。それ貸して。あれ。
Pulse by Kiyoshi Kurosawa. This movie came out in 2001. The Japanese title is not Pulse. It is Cairo, which translates more literally to circuit, alluding to both electronic connections as well as connections between people. This was made on a significantly higher budget than Kiyoshi Kurosawa's previous features, most of which were direct to video. And the film was funded partially as a way to capitalize on the success of Ringu, or The Ring, from 1998. And Kurosawa is very open about this. I watched a big interview with him on the special features of my Pulse Blu-ray, and he was like, yeah, we were basically just trying to rip off Ringu. But I would say this movie is way better than Ringu. I don't know if y'all are sure.
Yeah.
But this
I haven't seen it.
has a whole lot more going on. Anyways, it competed in the Cannes Film Festival in 2001. It was acquired by Magnolia Pictures, but was actually not released in the US until 2005. And that was specifically because the United States had seen a bunch of English language remakes of J-horror movies like The Ring in 2002 and The Grudge in 2004. So now there's this like big J-horror craze in America. Pulse got a remake as well in English, as did Takashi Miike's movie One Missed Call. But yeah, we got it in 2005. And Kurosawa starts doing interviews with American film critics and journalists. I have a couple quotes for you from him.
What was the English remake? What was it called?
It's just called Pulse.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
I've never seen it.
I bet it blows. But...
You don't think it's the lost masterpiece?
I would say, I don't know. I was about to say the American Ring might be a little bit better than the Japanese Ring, but
It is a little bit, I think.
I think Naomi Watts does a lot, but
Gore Verbinski also is a little bit.
That's true.
Anyway, on the Pulse.
Anyways, here's what Kurosawa said about why he thought Japanese horror was so interesting to American audiences in 2005. He says, I think one of the clear reasons for its popularity is that in J-horror, ghosts are simply a foreign presence. They don't attack, they don't kill, they don't threaten human life. They're just there. And they show up in your daily life rather nonchalantly. They don't make a terrifying entrance. I find ghosts in Japanese horror much more terrifying. In the standard American horror canon, because a ghost violently attacks you or comes after you, at least you have the chance to fight back. And what you're fighting for is the idea that you can beat the bad thing and go back to the good old days where you were peaceful and happy and there weren't any ghosts hanging around. But if they don't attack you, then the best you could do is figure out a way to coexist with them. I find the idea that one just has to live with this thing much more terrifying. You have no chances of running away or fighting it. you're stuck with it forever.
God, he's talking about the internet, isn't he?
I don't think that he is there, but I do have a quote for you about the internet. When he was asked about the movies, dealing with the internet, he said, "At the time I wrote this film, the internet was just starting to become popularized. It was before anybody really had a full idea of what effect it was going to have on our daily lives. Through the power of marketing, it just spreads all over. In the case of Japan, to just so many households. I think at the time it was just kind of this unknown force that was spreading like a virus throughout the country and had that kind of ominous and menacing feel to it. 5 years later, clearly the internet and its use in our lives has kind of stabilized as part of the infrastructure. But I think you could talk about the threat of technology in terms of nuclear power. Before we have a handle on what it really means, we are seduced by its potential power, and it very quickly can spread beyond our ability to contain it. I think technology presents that kind of problem." Just so true.
Kiyoshi Kurosawa's AI movie win. You know?
That's right. I want an AI movie from Kurosawa. Yeah. One kind of fun fact I learned about the movie is that it includes a scene that involves someone receiving an image through a text message, which was actually not possible at the time. But a lot of people on set were skeptical of the idea. Like, are people really going to believe this? But Kurosawa was certain it would happen in the future, so he just left it in there.
Really?
Usually batting 1,000 on the prediction.
He really is. He's so right.
Like seamless. It's like, yes, of course, the ghost sent a selfie. Yeah.
Sure, of course, yeah. One more quote from Kurosawa. He said that he sees the film as being about loners. Yeah. He said, "If you choose freedom, I think you have to accept being alone. Whether or not you use social media, or no matter how much you rely on it, if you wish to be free, you will be a loner. Even though you make contacts with various people on social media, I think your soul remains quite lonely." Also true. Couple critic quotes for you. In the New York Times, Anita Gates wrote, "There are very few moments in Kiyoshi Kurosawa's fiercely original, thrillingly creepy horror movie that don't evoke a dreamlike dread of the truly unknown." In the Washington Post, Stephen Hunter, who I quoted a bunch in my video essay about guns in horror movies, he wrote, "Pulse is best enjoyed if it is not questioned too closely. It lives visually in a way it cannot live intellectually." And then I had to include a negative review here. This is from Entertainment Weekly. Owen Gleiberman wrote,
I don't want to hear
"Watching Pulse, you could almost die of anticipation. Nothing in the 2 snail-paced hours makes close to a shred of sense."
What a dummy.
That review doesn't make any sense.
Real quick, Owen Gleiberman story. I met him and interviewed him one time, and at the end of the interview, I was like, do you think that the Marvel and Avenger movies is like us trying to win 9/11? And he just stared at me dead in the eye. I was like, what the hell are you talking about?
There's that Entertainment Weekly sharp criticism. Right?
Well, he's batting 0.
He's not Kiyoshi Kurosawa.
You should have asked Kurosawa.
Look up his baseball stats. Hop on the internet and print those out.
There you go.
Yeah.
I'm not printing out Owen Gleiberman's baseball stats.
Fucking.
You'll just get a piece of paper out of your printer that says, like, "Do you want to meet a ghost?"
No, it says room.
All right, well, who wants to get us started talking about Pulse?
Pulse? Go, Grace. Go.
This was also a first watch for me. Before we started recording, I cued everybody into my mental state. I did a double feature. I did Pulse, and then I did Perfect Blue, and then I wanted to give up. I didn't want to.
Yeah, you're kidding.
The good thing you did Pulse first, I think, because that one is the one that really makes you want to give up.
Yeah, I was left sort of sitting there like, what the fuck? Like, I felt as a young woman living alone, I had never felt more alone in the entire world than watching that. And I definitely keyed into, because there are multiple scenes. I did hit a bit of a rewatch before we recorded today, just to kind of refresh. And the parallel plots made a lot more sense the second time.
Yeah.
Because the first time around, everything did feel very dreamy, and I wasn't sure what was really happening when. And I was also kind of struggling to keep everybody safe, or keep everybody straight, because with two separate storylines and multiple different groups of people, as folks come in and out, it dreamlike. Whoever said that in their
that was New York Times, I believe. Yeah, Anita Gates.
Very exactly, like right on the money. There was something nightmarish about all of this, the way that it moves, the way that the movie moves, the way that the people move in and out of the frame, the way that the ghosts pop in and out, the uncanny and upsetting movements and physicality of the ghosts. Haunting, chilling, frightening, terrible, depressing, life-ending, mind-altering. Hustled my fucking internet subscription. I want to unplug. Pulse.
Yeah, speaking of the way the ghosts move, I think that like the most iconic scene in this movie is definitely like the first time that somebody sees a ghost in real life, and he's walked into this
The
strange
forbidden room.
urban space. The forbidden room has like a red tape frame of it, and he's just like in this nondescript corridor. He walks down it, turns around, sees a woman just kind of like standing with her back to the opposite wall, and she starts like slowly moving toward him. And like you think that maybe the film is in slow motion, but it is not. This woman is just moving incredibly slowly, and then she makes this movement that I cannot describe. It's like she dips down and like swerves over to the left and then just like keeps walking. It is one of the most terrifying things I've ever seen. And it plays out completely silently. Kiyoshi Kurosawa truly does it like nobody else.
Yeah, I love the idea of ghosts in this movie. You know, I like the description he had of like ghosts. Like there's something. I mean, it is like they become part of like the fabric of like the spaces. You know, the people who disappear. There's like that imprint that's just like left in the wall, which is also quite
like mold or something.
Yeah, which is also incredibly ominous and kind of frightening. But there's just something about you know, you mentioned like the way that the ghost moves. Like, yeah, it's a movie that's not like looking for jump scares. It's a movie that's not like trying to like kind of like bolt you out of your seat. It's very much like it's just kind of trying to like almost suffocate you. Like it's like you're leaned back in your chair, and it's like the thing is like kind of coming over you to suffocate you. Yeah. But there's something, you know, to your point, like there's something really frightening about it. But there's also something that's like, to me, like feels very like true of if I was interacting with ghosts. You know, I've watched enough Ghost Adventures and stuff like that like playing the little machines and yelling at them is probably not the way it's going to be going about. But and there's something like kind of like not like comforting, but like I'm like, yeah, like this seems like how ghosts would engage you if you were in some space that they were inhabiting. Like it would be slow, it would be like just like near quiet, and it wouldn't be jarring. It would just kind of happen, and that would be that. And then I guess you would be like a black mold spot on the wall. I don't know.
Well, because isn't the lore in this movie that we learn is that like the world of the dead is starting to like leak into the real world, and so like it's not even like they're like haunting in a traditional sense. It's just like they're just there. They're becoming like an environmental presence that is like constantly at risk of like it turning you into just a person with no will to live.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the no will to live thing is key because I see this movie as being primarily about depression and suicide.
Yeah.
And specifically like the ramping up of those things with the advent of the internet. And it goes back to that idea I talked about at the beginning, hikikomori, like this phenomenon of people who live basically completely in their homes and do not touch grass ever.
Yeah.
Like that is a thing that you just at one point you literally could not do. You there's no way to get like all of your shit delivered to your house. You have to go engage with the real world. And like the advent of the current phase of internet technology kind of allows for this kind of like solipsism that like you are seeking connection through the internet, but like in many cases just connecting with other supremely lonely people who are kind of in some cases like kind of bringing out their their I don't know worst impulses or darkest feelings.
It's kind of interesting to compare it to the net, where we're introduced to Sandra Bullock as someone who is like this, right? She used the internet to order a pizza to her house, and she's kind of reclusive or whatever. But she immediately just transitions like a-okay back into like social life, like when the plot requires her to do so. And there's not really like the broader understanding of what the psychological ramifications of like the isolation that the internet can afford brings. And on the other side of that, I would like also compare this to the movie We're All Going to the World's Fair.
We're going to talk about later in the series.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not going to like, spoil that one, but like that is also a movie that is dealing with the same thing, but I think in some ways dealing with some of the same psychological repercussions, but in other ways not. And I just think it's
that's like the post-COVID version.
Yeah, and I don't know, like it's very interesting because I think a lot of people are drawn to the internet because it is viewed as like a space where they can be their more authentic selves. And that's not really presented in this movie so much. Like people are kind of curious in the same way that people in a movie are curious to like pick up the cursed like artifact and get, haunted or whatever. But like, I think that's like an interesting thing that happens is that the internet draws people in because it seems as though it is an attractive place. And in a lot of ways, this can be very like, you can find like real connection, real meaning on the internet, but it is almost like this, I don't know, like playing with fire element because it's so easy to fall into these, like spaces that, where you actually just feel more isolated. And like, there's an element of the internet that does feel like like interacting with ghosts if you're like doing it in a particular way where, you have the form of like a person, like or an intelligence that you're engaging with, but like there's nothing meaningful about it in a way that like gives you the normal like healthy social interactions. I think the internet is interesting because it is like that dichotomy where people oftentimes feel that they're their most true selves while also feeling extraordinarily isolated, like they are not interacting with other real people.
Yeah, there's no depiction of like what people do on the internet in Pulp.
Yeah.
They make videos of themselves with no will to live.
Well,
It's like it's TikTok.
Kiyoshi Kurosawa presents this in like such an abstracted and like symbolist sort of way where people turn on the internet and they're just immediately like a surveillance cam into somebody else's office, right? You're just it truly is like a window into somebody else's life. And for the most part, people are just sitting around feeling sad.
Well, it's
like you can only see into their lives if that person is near a computer.
Yeah.
So again, that's a really nice, I'm starting to see the symbolism of like our curated like internet persona via, that screen. We peek into their lives through the screen. We see them miserable ghosts. We have no other context for who they are or how they exist outside of that tiny little screen. And it's so painful to watch. I got during my rewatch, I got up to the scene where Haru and Kawashima, before she disappears, and she's like, these people, all of these people, and she like touches all these screens. She's like, I want to be with them. I want to be on the same side with them. And he shuts it down and he says, no, they're not alive. That's not real. You and I here are alive and we are connected. That those are ghosts and that we're real. And she's like, well, we're ghosts. It's just sort of all very like depressing and confusing, but
yeah, it also kind of takes on a little bit new meaning for me, having done a bit of research about the internet in Japan at this point, where most people are using the internet through their phones, as opposed to like you would have to be like really into computers or really into the internet to have a personal computer at home for the most part. Like these are the people who have like really chosen to isolate themselves, as opposed to the internet being a kind of just like a part of the social fabric that people are already engaging with. And you do see characters using the internet on their phones in the movie, and those are mostly characters that you would call like reasonably well adjusted compared to some of the folks who kind of end up getting sucked in to, and like the most oppressed character in the movie, the woman who what you say, Kawashima, is that her name?
So Kawashima is the guy that's like, hold on, you're talking too fast. Haru is the woman. She is a computer science.
Yeah,
he's a teacher, student, professor, but a computer science graduate student answers to her, and he is very antagonistic and very cruel to Kawashima. But
when they go in her house or her apartment, she just has like 4 or 5 desktop computers just like all laid out next to each other. She's very
yeah. And she's trying to help him, and he's like, it just sort of seemed like everybody's doing it. He's like, I don't really like it. His resistance is, that shows like a well-adjusted person. He's like, I'm in economics, like
right, yeah.
He seems like most people on Instagram. Like I don't like it, but I'm here.
Like
if I'm remembering correctly, I think he also has a copy of Quake sitting on his desk.
Yeah,
which is it's like it's by the people who made Doom. And
I don't know what that is.
Like the first shooter games.
Oh, okay.
Like Quake was the first like multiplayer shooter game. So I imagine this guy got the internet because he wanted to play video games online, and didn't realize he'd be like opening a black hole of despair.
Up the where it was all this time, really.
So I wanted to ask y'all this. I was kind of noticing, I mean, like one of the big, I guess, sort of pieces of this is like people start to disappear. Is, people no longer existing in the real world and only existing if they exist in this ghost world. But you start to notice people disappearing from highly populated areas. Like people aren't in classrooms anymore. People aren't in the arcade anymore at one point when he's chased through it. But some of the figures that you do wind up seeing, we just sort of see the back of them. And I'm like, that's a ghost. That's gotta be. Like at one point when he's in the library and the graduate student is talking to him because there's a ghost in the shelves or whatever, and he's like egging him on. There's a shot where it's the two of them sitting at a table, sort of facing each other, and then in between them is a figure facing a wall, sitting in a chair. But it doesn't look like it's a desk, and it doesn't look like it's really like moving or like doing anything. And so like every time my eyes would start to wander through like the frame, I would see just stationary figures not facing us and sort of kind of difficult to make out what they're doing. And I'm like, okay, so there are ghosts. That's a ghost. That is a physical manifestation of a ghost that is just here and existing in this space, in this frame, that is like completely exited the internet, the shadow plane, the whatever, the here and now. But did you guys start to notice those?
Really, like Kiyoshi Kurosawa, like the way that his horror works, he can make you afraid of just like a stationary person, just like posted up in the middle of a frame.
And things like that, like we saw that in Cloud, how sometimes there would just be like a figure, and I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, and then they go on, and like, but that ghost is just kind of there. That's like, oh yeah, that's just, you know, so and so. They hang out over here, you know, Tuesdays nights at 9. But
you talking about the library scene reminded me that there is just some goofy shit in this movie too. Partially because of like, you know, the internet not being represented realistically, but also just because the way that people talk to each other in this movie can be kind of wacko sometimes. He gets a book from the library about phantoms, I think is what it's called. And in one scene we see him reading, and it says, "Everyone dies, therefore there's no logical reason for ghosts not to exist."
I liked him, like,
controvertible,
you know, logging into the internet, and he's like reading this, and he's like, okay, what's this crap? Okay, accept. What? Okay, click. Okay, click again. Like, it's very, very silly. That was, I mean, you know, when you said that there's silly things in it, that to me was the only silly thing. The rest of the movie is just like unbearably.
Yeah, it's incredibly bleak, and like it gets downright apocalyptic by the end. But even before that point, before like there are planes crashing into buildings and, you know, like big ominous dark clouds rolling in from the horizon, Tokyo feels like a place that is completely deserted. You like basically every scene of somebody walking through a city street, they're the only person in the street.
Every person on the bus, the train.
Yeah. The movie just like captures this feeling of isolation, like this social alienation so well. Even showing people like attempting to go outside and interact with other people, there's like nobody to interact with. Everybody is at home.
Or like discouraging each other from checking in on each other.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just leave him alone. He'll come back when he's ready. Like, when they're looking for one of their friends. I feel like something bad has happened. They're like, should I go over there? No, don't go over there. To the point where their boss at the plant shop was like, talking to friends. If you talk to your friend, you're going to say something that's going to hurt them. And who needs that?
Yeah.
And just actively discouraging connection, even when face to face. And that was all very upsetting, and part of me kind of wondered, is that the ghosts talking? Like, is that how the ghosts are able to infiltrate? Is we're already, as a society, we've sort of like conditioned ourselves to be so isolated and alone, and so then it's that much easier for their influence to then come through, or I don't know, but just like actively shutting down connection at any and all point. And Junko, just when I forget the other girl's name, is trying to save her from the ghost, and she's resisting being saved, that she's fine to just be haunted or, be taken away with this ghost or whatever. How she just stands there and tries to let it happen, and then is catatonic from it, unsurprisingly so. Girl, you did nothing to help yourself. You must have really wanted that. But anyway,
I don't see it necessarily as like the ghosts. Like, it's not like it's not like a zombie movie where they're like finding hosts and taking over. Like, I feel like the ghosts are more like passive in it, and it's just like, because of the nature of the internet and like how it creates this feeling of isolation. Like, it's almost like you're open to being more susceptible, and it's like this suffocation by the ghost, that they're just kind of there, and it kind of just consumes you until like your friend, like you just kind of give up. But it's less of like a I'm taking you away. It's more just like I'm giving up.
Okay.
Which seems like, like it's much more passive. It's like you could explain it if you're like, oh, these ghosts are coming into this world to like take us all away, because then there's like an antagonist. But it's almost like the ghosts aren't antagonists; it's just they're there.
No,
But we're so susceptible to it that it just kind of happens, and like that makes it less explainable. It's like there's no like big boss you need to fight to like defeat it. It's just like it's over.
and again, it's like the land of the dead is full. Like they're just seeping out into our world. And it's possible the land of the dead is full because the advent of the internet has led to like such a huge uptick in people offing themselves. I guess one other thing we haven't talked about yet is like the structure of this movie. Grace mentioned that it's confusing the first time around.
It is. And confusing the second time around. I forgot there's a time jump.
Is there a time jump?
Yeah, isn't there like near the end when they go back to the when they're on the ship, like things have
Girl, I got into this situation.
No, not just the frame story, but like before they return to the frame story, don't they like jump forward in time to like, oh, now Tokyo, like everyone's a ghost, and like I maybe I'm just confused. I thought
I don't remember that.
No.
Yeah.
No, it's like Tokyo's all taken over, and they just like they get out by going on the ship.
Well, right. It's there when I thought that it's like a time jump because like before, like they're like interacting with people, and then it's like, oh, Tokyo has fallen, and now we're just on a boat.
I mean, things like that all happens very fast. Is
Okay.
my read.
I remember that. Yeah.
That's who's living the best life in this entire movie is Koji Yakusho. From the main actor.
He's going to be a major character in this movie. Yeah. Who's just not.
he's just chilling internetless on the boat.
That's right. Not a cell phone in sight.
Yeah.
But I like how the movie is kind of structurally interested in the idea of like disparate people being connected. These are two stories that theoretically have nothing to do with each other except for the fact that they both have to do with the internet. Mm-hmm. And of course they do end up linking up like at the very end of the movie. But it seems to be, just kind of mirroring the way the internet works of like, different people's storylines kind of crisscrossing in ways they didn't expect. And usually for the worse in this movie.
Yeah.
But do we have anything else about Pulse we haven't brought up?
No, I think it's worth checking out. I wouldn't say don't watch Perfect Blue, but just prepare yourself if you're going to watch Perfect Blue.
Yeah.
But this one I think is really good. It's it's around the time of year generally when people are like seeking out horror movies, and this one is such a change of pace from what you traditionally see, especially like in America. Like there's just like this there's just this patience to his movies, and it's the same with like You're in Cloud and other ones that he's made. But there's like he just has this patience to a lot of the horror, and like I said, it's not like, oh, like something pops out of frame and you're like, oh my gosh. It's more just like you kind of sit there and just like it's at a distance and it keeps getting closer, and like you don't like you're so like paralyzed from it that you like you don't really know how to react. And there's something really like there's something really sensational about like that type of horror.
My friend Jordan calls it deal with it horror. Like just gets put on the screen and stays there. You just gotta deal with it.
Yeah.
That makes this. Oh, sorry. I was like, I had the same sensation with like in Weapons when the mom comes out of the house and she's sleeping in the car, and it's just
like
kind
stumbling toward the car.
Yeah, and you're just like, I'm stuck here. I don't want to be here. And it was the same type sensation where it's just like dang.
Yeah, I kept trying to close my eyes, hoping that the moment would pass, and the ghost is still coming at you, and I'm like it doesn't stop. I mean, I feel weird saying this, but yeah, that's at least that suicide was quick. When
You're a ghost, you're alone forever. Isn't that what one of the ghosts says? Like being dead is just being alone eternally or something like that.
Oof.
Like
it's awful. I love being alive. I love being a human being. The irony of how we're meeting each other right now via our computers and different houses, and we only have glimpse into each other's lives through this tiny little screen. That's certainly not lost on me. But I love being alive. I rebuke you, Pulse. I rebuke thee, devil.
Yeah, this movie will make you appreciate being alive, I think.
Yeah.
Unless you go into it already like basically black pilled.
yeah.
But yeah, I want to echo what you said, Zach, about like the patience of Kiyoshi Kurosawa. I feel like people throw around the word dread a lot when talking about horror movies, but like this is what dread looks like.
It's nothing but dread.
Yeah, it is just like
Dreadful.
palpable dread.
Like the scene in near the end when what was the guy's name, Grace?
Kawashima.
When he's in like the industrial park and he's just like, oh, I forgot something. You're like, you dumbass, don't go back in there to get it. And he like is in that when he's in that room and he engages with the ghost, like that's just dread.
Yeah. And like what that ghost ultimately does is just kind of like leans into the camera, and like he's like this blurred out figure, but like his eyes like draw into sharp focus as soon as he's like inches away from the camera, and it's very unsettling.
I went to sleep that night. Like I had to check all my corners.
Mm-hmm.
I had to check every corner in the house, make sure that
spots on the walls.
No, none.
Yeah.
Ooh. Great movie.
I think for as much as a lot of the movies in this series have kind of had a quaint, like like watching the technology is quaint. It's like, oh,
yeah,
Matthew Broderick is, putting his rotary phone like into the, modem or whatever. Like this movie kind of does the opposite, where it kind of weaponizes the chunkiness and like the gray scale, like plasticity of like those old like boxy computer modules and like the CRT screens. Like the ghosts, like it is kind of like how like honestly like how The Ring uses like the VHS era as like not a kind of like quaint outmoded thing, but like a thing in which like the limitations of it like creates like something scary. And I think it's interesting that like the actual aesthetics of the like Y2K aesthetics of like, those things like become ominous in this. And I feel like for the first time really in this series, like where the like hardware itself is part of like what is ominous.
Yeah, those very low res images of people's apartments, though they can like just keep enhancing.
Yeah,
ridiculous, but
Don't think about it.
Yeah, but they are very scary. Just as you can't see all the details.
Yeah, no one wants the 4K iPhone 17 Pro version of Pulse where it's just like crystal clear images.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
All right. Well, I guess that'll do it for episode 3 of Internet Movies. Next week, people listening to this will get to hear the next one in a week. We have episode 4, which is titled Docs with Receipts. We're looking at 4 documentaries from the 2010s and the early 2020s, kind of capturing different evolving concerns about the internet. So that episode is going to include discussions on Catfish, Citizen 4, Feels Good Man, and A Glitch in the Matrix. So look.
That should be our shortest episode. Yeah, not a lot to talk about there.
Yeah, nothing to talk about this.
I can definitely just talk for 15 minutes about Feels Good Man.
Oh, that movie's so good. I love it.
It's great.
Anyways, we should thank patrons, and I once again do not have patrons pulled up. Zach, do you got it?
Oh my gosh.
Number 1, Grace Winburn.
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
I don't think.
Grace saw Pulse and deleted all her accounts.
Yeah, I said this for the reason it was like too scared.
Shout out
Like,
to a
what?
few people who have signed up as our as free members, so they're only getting free content. But hey, maybe
Why do we have a free tier to our Patreon?
we have a lot of different tiers, great tiers.
I guess what I'm saying is the free tier is just not like it's the same as not paying for the
Yeah, it's I don't know. Thank you so much to our patrons: Sam Shapiro, Grace Winburn, you're there. Tanner Huskins, Teresa Marsathi, Ron Hayes, Cam, and Tyler Chandler. We appreciate your patronage.
Yeah. If you were tired of waiting forever for this episode, remember that if you sign up for our Patreon, you can also get Movies We Saw This Month, a monthly show where we do the old movies we saw this week format and talk about new releases as well as random old things. Yeah, go sign up. But that'll be it for us this week, everybody. Thank you for listening. We'll see you next week.